Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new independent Era 2 premium medium tank, the Magach 6R Hydra. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it does really help out the channel. And yes, the Magach 6R Hydra, what's it like? Well, it's not that great really, and that's because it is a Magach 6, but without any of the ERA, which means that the armour is pure poo. The gun is really good, gun handling wise. The gun handling on this tank is fantastic, but the penetration's a problem. It's not really got that good a penetration for Era 2. It's pretty damn low. It's because it's got basically the stock guns that you would use on the Magachs, which is, yeah, not great with like 356 penetration. You do have a gimmick, however, which I stress is fairly much like a gimmick, and that is you've got rockets that are similar to the Calliope in their mechanic, in that they are unguided rockets. So you can fire these rockets, but once you've fired them, you have no bearing on where they go. They just go in a straight line, pretty much. Which means that you need tanks that are going to sit there and just take the hits, pretty much. And also, because of the way they are positioned on the tank, very similar to the WZ-122 in a way, if you are too close to people, these rockets will go straight over the target. Quite easily straight over the target, which is very, very awkward. Also, they don't have the best penetration in the universe at 290, which means that generally they actually struggle to ping quite a few targets as well. If you catch out, you're going to see this in some of the replays, if you catch out tanks like Leopards and AMX-30Bs, you crush them very, very fast. But yeah, it's not the most useful thing in the universe. And also, with how long it takes to get all of the rockets out to do the damage to these people, they still tend to pen you 2 to 3 times anyway. So you lose a lot of hit points while trying to deal out these rockets. So it's a bit of a gimmick. The mobility also, without helping it, is pretty slow as well. I don't think it's that good of a tank, realistically. It can feel satisfying when the gimmick works, but yeah, generally it's not the best tank in the universe. And it does cost you, if you were to have a quick look in the store, 11,460, which isn't actually too bad in terms of our pricing for a Era 2 Premium, but at the same time, it's still fairly expensive, and I would always recommend you wait for discounts. It does look pretty cool, though, as a tank. I mean, having the rocket tubes on the top is just, yeah, just look hilarious. But let's go have a look at the statistics of the Magach 6R Hydra. It's got a 750 horsepower engine with a 53.1 kilometer an hour top speed. That's a bit weird, but yeah, okay. 24.1 kilometer an hour top speed. Again, weird, but I'll allow it. 15.31 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit the 53 kilometers an hour. You're a little bit sluggish at times going up hills, but apart from that, it's not too bad in terms of getting up to the top speed, but 53.1 kilometers an hour for an Era 2 medium tank really isn't that quick. Most medium tanks in Era 2 are going at 60. And this is definitely slow, and that's a bit of a pain because if you sacrifice a lot of equipment to put on traction system, powertrain, etc., you are just about going at 60 kilometers an hour, where everything else obviously is going way faster than that if they do put on the speed equipment. So, yeah, you're not the fastest tank in the universe for this era, although 24 kilometers an hour backwards is fantastic. I will give it that. And you've got 12% internal fire chance, which is on the low end of internal fire chances because they tend to go between 10 and 20%, so it's not too bad. Haven't really been set on fire in this tank, so it's something you don't really worry about too much. You've got 2,680 hit points, which is okay. Again, it's not the best hit points in the universe, but it's not bad. It means you've got a decent amount to trade with to be able to deal out these rockets at times, but yeah, it's not got the most hit points in the universe. You got 42 degrees a second hull rotation speed as well, which means it does turn fairly quickly for a medium tank. You got 1.9 soft, 0.85 on medium, and 0.8 on firm for the terrain resistances. The terrain resistances are fantastic. You do not need to worry about these whatsoever. With some of the crew skills and stuff, you'll knock it down even further. And yeah, they do not hold your top speed back whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about them. Camo, well, it's a big medium tank. It's an M48, M60 type tank, so it's got no camo whatsoever. You've got 515 meters of view range, which is fairly standard for Era 2. You got 36 degrees a second turret rotation, which is slower than your track rotation speed, so just bear that in mind, that your turret will not keep up with your tracks. So if you're trying to turn to face something and get the gun on target on something on your left-hand side, just remember to turn your tracks the same way and you'll get the gun on target. If you turn the tracks the opposite way to where you're trying to turn the turret will just end up getting away from where you want to be looking at. You do have 0.73 accuracy during rotation, and paired with the 1.26 accuracy during movement, that is incredible. That means you do not need to bother with gun stabilizer, because obviously if you put on all the gun perks, which you probably will do because you're not going to run the gun stabilizer, this will get even lower, and these two statistics are fantastic. Generally, if you are thinking about dropping the gun stabilizer, if you have below 1.5 accuracy during movement and below 1 accuracy during rotation, you really don't have to worry about the gun stabilizer at all, because your gun aim circle does not bloom out that much whatsoever, which is what the gun stabilizer helps to reduce. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that, which helps you with the speed equipment, right? So those two things are fantastic. You have 9 degrees of gun depression, which is great, which means you can be pretty damn good on a ridgeline, just like any of the M60, Magach, M48 type tanks. You've got 0.34 base accuracy as well, which is okay. It's okay. 0.34 is pretty damn good accuracy, realistically, but there's quite a few tanks in Era 2 that are getting way more accurate than that, right? But it's still pretty good. You've got a 7.8 second reload, which is 3.5k DPM, which is okay. Again, you get it down to about, with the build that I've got, about 5.4 second reload, which is pretty quick in terms of its fire rate, which is nice. You got 1.9 second aim time, which again is fairly quick, and you'll knock that down even quicker with some of the crew skills. You have APF SDS as standard and as premium, and HESH as your HE round. With 359 penetration on the APF SDS, which is low. That is very low. It struggles to pen quite a few tanks in Era 2, like the 4211s, like the T72 AVs, etc, etc. There's a lot of tanks that actually struggles to pen, which is pain for a premium tank like this. And you got 426 penetration on the premium APF SDS, which 426 on the premium is nice, but to be honest, that's where you want your standard pen to be for a tank like this, because most of the other Magachs and stuff, when they get the top guns, do have around that for their standard penetration. This doesn't. 359 is just not good enough for an Era 2 premium. You do have 250 HESH pen, though, which can be glorious against Leopards and AMX-30s, and it means you set them on fire quite often, or Armour them, for 570 damage. Your average damage is also 460, which is fairly average to low end as well for a medium tank in Era 2. So, yeah, there's a lot of things about this tank that are fairly subpar. You got 1,455 meters a second shell velocity, though, on both the standard and premium round, and 731 meters a second shell velocity on the HESH round. So bear that in mind, that your HESH round will be way slower than your standard and premium round. So if you're firing at distance, you really do have to aim these quite a lot. Most of the time, you can be firing these at shorter distances against tanks that are exceptionally squishy. And then you've got the rockets. So you got the 70mm rocket pods, which is 37 seconds of reload base, which is very long for reloading this clip, but you do have 19 rockets in the clip, which have 290 penetration for 150 damage. Now, the damage on these rockets isn't the highest, added into the fact that your 290 penetration is not that high, really. There's a lot of tanks you're not going to pen in Era 2 with that. And that is definitely pain. It takes quite a while to get these shots out, because it is a 0.33 second intro clip, which means you're firing 3 a second. Yeah, you're basically firing 3 a second at this point. But naturally, that means that you've fired, what, 12 to 15 in the time it'll take a lot of tanks in Era 2 to have fired at you for 500, and you're not even guaranteed to have penned them, which is definitely pain. They do have 739 meters a second shell velocity, though, on these rockets, which is actually really quick for this kind. Well, you know, missiles are a lot slower, right? The rockets are actually fairly quick, which means they do get to target pretty fast. But generally, because they are unguided rockets, the tank has to be stationary, and a lot of the time, they're just going to work against people that sit there and go, "Shoot me!" And that doesn't happen that often, right? So the rockets are a bit of a gimmick. They do work, they do get you a lot of damage very quickly, but you have to pick and choose your target. Generally, if you're going to do it, you're going to play this tank like a standard Magach, which is not that great at being, and then use these when you catch people unawares, or when you've tracked people. The key one is when you've tracked people, because that it does shred them when you've done that. You do also have a 150% silver bonus, which is, again, not that high, really. You've got 125% tank bonus and 110% commander bonus, which is, again, it's a bit standard, really, for Era 2 premium tanks. But 150 is a little bit low on the low end, because obviously you've got those that do get up to 160, but it's still not bad. So that's the statistics of the old Magach Hydra. I'm going to show you the armor as well, by the way, which is, yeah, it's pretty poor on this tank. 143 on the lower plate. The upper plate is 109. The turret front of this tank is not that great realistically. As you see, you've got, what, 177 on the front. It is really sloped, so you can, obviously, if you're hull down and you're showing only your turret and you're using your gun depression, you can ricochet shots off of the turret, that's for sure, but for the most part, it gets absolutely butchered in Era 2. The armour on this tank is really not very good, and it does get absolutely shredded, which is a very, very sad time for the old Magachicus. And in terms of the modules, let's have a quick look at that as well. There's your Armour racks. You can see a key problem here for the Armour racks as well, is look how they are in the front of the tank. If anyone shoots you in that drive wheel, your Armour rack is getting damaged. If anyone shoots you on this whole front end of the right-hand side of the tank, your Armour rack is getting damaged. It's a little bit sad in that regard in terms of the tank. And there's the engine block right at the back, exactly where you'd expect for an M48 Magach M60 type tank. And yeah, what do I run in terms of a commander? Well, I have the commander in the old bandit, Mr. Ozymandias. Please reattach yourself to the Mr. Hydra. So we run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, and Deadeye. I run Deadeye for the memes. You could quite easily swap Deadeye out for something like Camo if you wanted to knock your camo down a little bit. You could swap it out for supply conservation quite easily, especially if you were to run smoke, because you'd be able to knock how long it takes to get that smoke back down by quite a long way, by 15% obviously, as you can see there. You could run one of the fire perks if you feel like you get set on fire a lot. You could run safe stowage to decrease the chance of getting ammo-racked, which it does get its ammo-rack damaged a fair bit in this. You could run armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming in. You could run trap mechanic as well to stop yourself getting perma-tracked and stuff like that. It's completely down to you and how you want to set up the tank. I just run it for the memes. Rapid aim because the turret traverse is slow and I do want to help it, and because I'm making the track traverse better with clutch braking and stuff like traction system, I want to make the turret traverse better with rapid aim. So that's why I run that, and then clutch braking, like I say, to make the track traverse better so it turns on a sixpence way better. These three gun perks because I don't run the gun stabilizer, so I'm going to help the gun out as much as I humanly can do, and these four perks are generally what you're going to take on every tank in Era, well, in Cold War generally, or in the game realistically. And then in terms of equipment for this tank, I do run food myself because I feel like the food boost is quite significant to everything. The advanced loader, the traction system, and vents. I run vents to make everything about the tank generally better, like the accuracy, aim time, the reload, and that goes for the gun, the rocket tubes, and the main gun. I just generally want to make everything about the tank better if I can. That's why I run vents. You could quite easily drop vents for the powertrain to go faster because this tank is a little bit slow, so you could definitely do that. Or you could run the advanced reload to switch to the Hesh rounds whenever you want, because the Hesh rounds can change an engagement very, very quickly, especially if you're against a lightly armoured tank. If you feel like the gun handling does annoy you, you could run the gun stabilizer as well, or you could just make it aim faster with the GLD. It's down to you and how you want to play the tank. Or you could run the armor angling instead of Deadeye and mix it with advanced armor to reduce the amount of damage coming to this tank by 10%, which is something you could definitely do to use alongside firing the rockets, so that if you commit to firing all the rockets against something squishy, if that squishy tank is shooting you, it's not doing as much damage to you as it could have been doing, right? There's plenty of ways you can set up a tank. I'm not right, nor am I wrong. It's just how I feel comfortable with playing the old tank. So let's have a look at the statistics of the old tank as well, with all this equipped to it. So you've got a 58.41 km/h top speed with a 26.51 km/h reverse speed, which again, fantastic reverse speed. Top speed, you're getting more towards where you want to be with some of these medium tanks. You've got 50.53 degrees a second hull rotation now, which is really, really fast. Your terrain resistances have got a little bit better. Your view range is now at 570 meters of view range, which is nice. You got 44.85 degrees a second turret rotation, which again is still slower than your hull rotation, but imagine if you hadn't helped it out with the rapid aim, it would be way slower and it'd be very, very noticeable. You've got 0.6 accuracy during rotation, which is phenomenal, mixed with the 0.96 accuracy during movement. This is why you do not need the gun stabilizer, because those two added together mean that your gun bloom is non-existent. You'll see that in the replays. 0.27 accuracy with what we've got set up here. 5.55 second reload, which makes it nearly 5k DPM, which is definitely pretty damn solid. And again, if you boost with food, you're getting that down to like 5.2, 5.1 second reload, which is really, really good. And then on your rocket tubes, you've got it down to a 26.31 second reload, which is way faster than the 37 seconds base it was. And that means that you can launch these rockets quite often very quickly. I'm not sure why they've got aim time stats and accuracy stats, because they just don't count for these rockets, but yeah. So that's the English is hard. The statistics, there we go. English is hard, people. You know, it is what it is. And yeah, that's the Magach 6R Hydra. Like I say, it's a tank that is subpar in a lot of different ways. It's satisfying when it does pull off, but you have to pay for it. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is one that you're really going to go for that often, if I'm honest. Wait, if you want to pick it up, if you like the looks of it, I would always say wait for the discounts. Wait for discounts when it comes back on sale, probably in like, 9 to 12 months' time. You're not really missing out that much on it, if we're honest. But yeah. So that's it for this part of the video. I'm going to send you over to the replays now, where you can go watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just watch the general way that the tank plays. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Magach 6R Hydra, or just the Magach Hydra, and we are on this map, which is Pearl River. And on Pearl River, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go towards the position at K2, K3, sort of into that sort of corner area, so that I can get hull down next to the little ridge, only expose my turret and see what comes along the 1-2 line, because the 1-2 line is one of those, right, where sometimes nobody goes there, and sometimes most of the team goes there. So we're going to go judge what goes that way. It's always best to go to that ridge at K3 and just sit there and wait for a little while, like a minute or two, just to see what happens, because sometimes you can just go, oh, you know what, I'm going to go straight into the little ridge line at J2, and then you realise, oh poo, their whole team's here, and I'm dead. And you don't want that. So you just got to be a bit more chill and get to this ridge, which is what we do. We've managed to get across that gap at K34 as well, which is fairly lucky, really, because there was a fair few shots that did fly our way from E1, and it's something that can happen, obviously, is that they will push to that E1 position, and they do get free shots at your side if they do see you, so you got to be very, very careful of it. So we're now going to go in on the Bagel Panzer. I don't want anything from his Bagel delivery system. We're going to use the rockets, and the rockets, we actually fired about, what, 5 there, and we only penned 2. We only penned 2 of those rockets, but we did manage to kill the guy. Well, we didn't even kill him, we didn't finish him off, the Ignis did. But we're up to 1205 damage with 141 assistance, and we're just trying to find some shots towards the Mod 1A1, or whatever it was that was over in that corner. I think it was another Magach, actually, and we couldn't quite do it. We're now going in on the Vickers Mark III, who realistically here, I should try and find an angle to track, but we don't. We start to fire the rockets start hitting and doing some damage, but he starts moving, which makes it very, very awkward for the rockets indeed, which is why we switch back to the main cannon. We're now going for the tracking shot on that TR, and oh my lord, that RNG on the gun. We do fire some rockets his way, which again, for all those rockets that we just fired and we spent time getting towards him, we only penned 1. Again, it's where it can be a bit of a pain with the rockets, and it really does need a squishy target just to sit there and go, yes, yes, do shoot me. Thank you, my friend. I like being shot. And, taking all the hits. That's what it takes. And you're going to see that in some of these replays, because I do have 5 replays for you in this tank. And this one is basically the more average game that I've had in the tank, and my most average experience, to be honest, because it's one of those tanks that will be mid-max. It'll be mid-max. When it works, oh boy, your damage is going to fly really high. And especially if tanks do just ignore you, because, like I say, the gun handling is phenomenal. If you have tanks that you can pen easily with 350 odd pen, it's going to obviously go well. But if you get into those matchups where there's lots of tanks that are struggle to pen, the rockets are going to not do much against, because you can't really do too much against stuff like 4.211s, etc. I mean, they do pen every now and then, but for the most part, you're not going to do too much to them. Same as AVs and stuff. It's going to be a struggle, and this type of game is what you're going to expect. And especially you see in the penetration issues. We're firing 426 penetration APFSDS here, and we're still bouncing off stuff like the AVs. We do get a shot in to shut down the FV4211, though. The other one gets unspotted, so I do pop a shot straight down range to track it, going for the lower plate, and unfortunately we end up ricocheting there off the 4.211, who has pulled back into a position we can't quite see. I'm just watching that little spot down there, because I was thinking maybe the medium tank that's left will pop out underneath that bridge, and in fact he does. It's just a couple of seconds too late. We fire the shell towards him, and our ally just managed to drive in front of the shot. Bad timing there, realistically, and we ended up not getting the shot to kill the Ignis or even get any extra damage on him. There's only 1 tank left on the enemy team. It is that 4.211, and he is being swarmed by our team, and sadly for me, I don't get any more damage out of this game. We do finish the game with a decent total there for the Magach 6R Hydra. We finished with the 3 kills, 4.8k damage, the 1,651 assistance as well for some of the tracking, the Confederate, they fire and forget. The second class with 1472 base XP. Like I say, a fairly average game there for the Magach Hydra. And one of the things you really want to do with this tank is track things. If you can track... Great driving. If you find things and track them, you will be able to decimate their hit points with these rockets. You just have to know what you're firing the rockets at, because naturally the rockets are not going to do very well against things like 4211s, so there's no real point at firing them against them. Occasionally you might get a rocket pen, but you're just going to be wasting them. And the fact that you've only got 38 of these rockets, that's basically 2 clips worth. You just end up wasting them. And you will have games where you fire all 38 and you probably do 1,000 damage off of them, or 1,500 damage off of them, which is penning 10, right? Out of both clips, out of 38 rockets. And that's just the reality of these rockets. The other thing is, you've got to watch out for on these rockets, is that they aren't that great when you're very close to tanks. And you might be going, what do you mean they're not very good when you're very close to tanks? So, very much like the WZ-122, like I mentioned earlier on, these rockets, if you are very close to people, because they are higher up than your gun and your reticle, essentially, it means that if you're fairly close to someone, these rockets will fly over the target, which is definitely a pain. Very big pain. And you think, aha, I have you now. You ram a light tank or something, get right up close to it, and then you start firing the rockets, and nope, no dice, nothing works. And you sit there going, oh, okay, sure. So, my ATGM spidey sensors were tingling there when I was just detected the whole time, and I thought, oh no, I'm just going to pull back. And because what I could have done with that rickety panzer that we shot at the back is just because he wasn't looking our way, he was looking across the way towards what the heavy tank is spotted at B7, the light tank at A7, sorry, as well. I could have quite easily just launched all the rockets there. He probably would not have realised that those rockets were coming, and we would have dealt a lot of damage to him. But I felt like I was detected the whole time. I felt like the rockets were going to be flying towards me, or the ATGM, sorry. And it was, and we managed to escape it. We're now shooting across the way towards where the K-tank is over here, which we don't need too much penetration to go through the K-tank, thankfully. So we just managed to shut him down. Now looking for shots into our opposite Magach Hydra, which unfortunately we hit the ridgeline because we couldn't quite get the shot at him. But we are starting to feel a little bit isolated and all alone over in this little dip, this secondary dip, which makes me go, ooh, I'm not quite happy about this. We pop a shot at the 4211 in the distance, but sadly bounce, which, well, we were never going to pen him. The Magach Hydra gets tracked, and it's like, okay, Mr. Magach Hydra, I'm just launching the rockets. We managed to launch all the rockets in, kill him in there. Now we've got the Leopard up close, we fire the rockets, and once again, from that close, we only actually hit 2 of those, I think it was, or 3 of those against that Leopard, even though we were point blank. And that's because, well, there was quite a few of them flew over him, and then 1 or 2 didn't pen, and 1 or 2 missed him because he was moving too fast, and naturally these are unguarded rockets, so therefore they don't have to, well, you know, they don't follow the target. You can't follow where your gun is aiming. We get a Hesh shell into the Leopard. We take another hit from the heavy tank across the way, and that means that the Leopard actually gets the chance to finish us on the move, and we get blowed up, which means we did finish that game with the defeat, sadly, and we finished the game with 6.5k damage and 625 base XP on a loss, which is a sad, sad time. But again, that's another average experience, realistically, for my Magach Hydra there, and it shows you a little bit of the rocket tube issues you can just get, really. And obviously, but the thing is, with that, you did see where these rocket tubes can be quite useful, like against that Magach Hydra, because the Hydra has no armour. Those 290mm rockets do go through, and he just sat there and went, shoot me! And we went, okay, sir, I'll put you out of your misery. And that's what we did. You know, that is the way it is. And you're going to see it again in a minute. So we're on the 3rd replay. In the 3rd replay, we are on this map, which is Chow Bang. And we are going to go to the position at G4, because at G4 we can shoot the people that cross the JK line from their spawn and try and get up on high at K4 themselves. And it gives you some early free shots. You just have to be very, very careful about people getting early shots towards you as well that do camp down the corner at J7. And here's our target, a Leopard that is just driving straight towards us. And he is not making any effort to not drive straight forwards. And he is completely gone. Just like that, in the blink of an eye. And that's where the rockets can be nice. And that's where it feels extremely satisfying. Does that opportunity happen all the time? No. It happens very rarely, in fact. where that guy literally just drove in a straight line and went, "Shoot me!" And we went, "Okay!" And all of his hit points, 2,450 in about 30 seconds out the door. Just like less than 30 seconds realistically there as well. You know, like I say, it can work, and when it does work, your damage will fly up. But yeah, not realistically that often. And also, we spent most of our rockets doing that to that leopard. Most of our rockets are gone. We've only really got one salvo left, which means that our gimmick capacity is nearly out the window. And we're now going to launch them towards this Tyrann 6, which we should probably just use the main cannon. You can see we're just trying to get these rockets in. They are a bit of a pain to use, and we do end up finishing the Tyrann 6 with the rockets in the end. We probably could have, to be honest, would we have been better off just firing the main cannon and waiting for a second reload? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because we would have penned him the first time, and then we would have penned him again before he died and killed him, you know. We would have been better off just firing the main cannon as opposed to using the rockets there. And that's the trade-off. Why you think, okay, well, you know, the rockets were pretty useful there. We did shred his hit points. Yeah, but again, would it have just been better using the main cannon? Probably. Probably would have been. So we're going to go close down the Marder 1A1 and the Sheridan, which is always a deadly, deadly thing to do, because they have ATGMs that are very, very good, and they have no problem going through my armor with those ATGMs, but maybe we can catch them out. So we've cut out the Marder 1A1, we popped the last remaining rockets in, and shut down that A1 just about with the last rockets that we had left in the tank. Now the Sheridan's coming for us. It's like, no sir, we do track him in place, but I was hoping to get back around the corner, and sadly the Magach just appeared at the wrong moment. But we do manage to get a shot into the Sheridan. We know he's going to be spending time reloading. It's like, let's just ram this guy out of existence. Good night, Mr. Sheridan. We've now got a BMP. Dodge his ATGM. Get ourselves behind the rock. I was hoping to be able to, like, handbrake turn there and get round. But for some reason, I can't handbrake turn in the Magach. I don't know why. It just won't let me. It just locks the tracks and that's it. Which is a little bit awkward. So I found that out. We're trying to do that with that rock. I ended up just locking the tracks and driving in a straight line, which was just awkward. But yeah. We're now going around on the BMP2. I have absolutely no idea where that shell went. None at all. And we don't even get the kill on the BMP, but I don't know. I just don't know where that shot went. That went somewhere. And now we are in a situation where we could cap. But their last teammate that I got seen or spotted was at G7. Which means that if we do get in the cap, they'll get there. They'll get there really, really quickly. So there was just no point capping because of how fast everything is on their team, where they are already at G7. There is no hope of capping, even if we had 3 in there, because, well, they'll just get there. It is what it is. So we're just going to make the last stand play. We're going to sit here and try and be a distraction. We're going to try and be the meat shield in the hope that their team all swarm me and come after me, and that just distracts their... Whoa! What happened there? Mr. Scorpion 90! He went whoop, 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 as it flew across the screen. Oh, Mr. Scorpion 90, what have you done? Oh dear. Mr. Scorpion 90 dies. We get a shot into the Magach Hydra. We're receiving the rockets. And even though we don't really have any armor, see how many of those rockets hit us and did absolutely nothing? Quite a lot. And unfortunately, we got shut down there and we didn't end up winning in the end because, like I say, they were really close to the cap. And we finished with 4 kills, 9,072 damage, the ATGM expert, the fire and forget, the high caliber, with 909 base XP on a defeat, which is a sad, sad time for the Magach Hydra. That was just one of those games where the rockets worked because people went, go on, do it. And then we managed to use the main cannon to good effect because most of the tanks we were shooting at, we could penetrate. And I do need to stress that it is, when you are facing tanks that you can pen, it's pretty nice because your DPM is pretty damn solid. Your gun handling, like I say, is fantastic. And you do have the gimmick. And if you can pen them with the main cannon, you're probably going to be able to pen them with the gimmick rockets as well. But there is a lot of situations and a lot of matchmaking places and times where it's just... yeah, it's just not probably going to work out for you. Like, I could think about firing the rockets at that Marder 1A1 there. But he's just going too quickly. The rockets will never hit him. It is what it is. But that Marder 1A1 is out on this map, on this game on Erlenberg. And we've taken a very aggressive spot. And that is, we've pushed this corner. Now, this corner is a very aggressive spot on Era 2. And we do actually have quite a lot of people supporting us. But a lot of their team, as you are seeing, are already here. So we end up tracking that Bradley. and we get one rocket hits him, one misses, and that's what we aim for instantly, was that tracking shot. We've now got a WZ-122-4 in front of us. We're firing the rockets at him, and we've done nothing. I think one of those penned, and you can see where what was happening with those rockets when we were firing. They weren't firing where our reticle was, they were firing higher, so they were hitting the upper plate instead of hitting the lower plate. They only really seemed to come into the middle of the reticle at about 200 to 300 meters. So if you are really close, they just don't seem to go where you're aiming, which is really, really awkward for them in use, because they're unguided. They're only really useful at tanks, like I say, that are tracked and stationary at distance, or at very close range targets. And I gotta say, at very close range, they are extremely unwieldy and don't tend to go where you're aiming, which is awkward. But yeah, we are fighting on this corner. We're going after the T-62. I was hoping for a high roll maybe to finish him off, but we don't quite get it. We're now going to go for the shot on the Super M48. We've tracked him, so rockets away. Let's go. Let's just fire all the rockets and see what happens. And that Super M48 was tracked, which is what we did, and we destroyed all of his hit points in the blink of an eye. That, again, is where the rockets can be useful. When you know that tank is not going to move, it can be pretty handy to use. And that, to be fair, all that Super M48 had to do was repair his tracks. That is literally all he had to do. But he'd either burnt his repair kit or just had no idea what was coming. And obviously in the future, when people see a Magach Hydra, they see the first rocket, they'll probably go, absolutely not, repair and just drive away, because they know that's the way that they're not going to suffer your rockets. So we see the ATGM come in there from the Rickety Panzer, and I decide, nope, not doing that. We avoid his ATGM, we get a shot into the side of the Type 79, who again just drove out in front of us. Gave us a bit of a tracking assist as well, because we did track him. And we're going to move up to the next ridgeline as quickly as humanly possible, so we avoid the Rickety Panzer's ATGM, and the Rickety Panzer gets shut down by the 30B2 Brennus. Now there's the M50. He is the last one alive. We get one shot into him, and he gets shut down by the RDF-LT. And we finish again with a really nice total there for the Magach Hydra. We finish with the epic victory. 3 kills, 8.9k damage, 1732 base XP, with the Fire and Forget medal, the High Caliber, the Confederate medal, and yeah, that's 1684 base XP. A really nice game there for the Magach Hydra on Erlenberg. Once again, it showed you some of the limitations of the tank, and the fact that, like in the last game, when the tanks actually started coming for me, we didn't bounce anything. Our armour just went, oh no, and got penetrated non-stop. But if you do catch out something, and you do something like that, again, you've got to have the knowledge of what where you can penetrate things, right? That Super M48, we knew the moment we tracked him, I knew I probably wasn't going to pen and track him, but I knew by tracking him, he was just going to be stationary, and those rockets would fly in. And because they are fairly quick, they hit the target very, very fast, and we managed to eliminate all of his hit points. But we're on to the 5th and final replay of this video, and it is the silly spawns on Siegfried Line, and another tank that is just going, yeah, okay, I'll take your rockets, sir. Good night, Mr. 30B. Because he was very determined to just machine gun us, he sat there and took every single rocket. Which, again, is where I'm saying these rockets are great when people sit still and say, shoot me! And we go, okay, I will. And all of their hit points evaporate, right? But if people don't do it, the rockets really aren't that useful at all. And a lot of them will bounce, miss, or just, yeah, they won't do anything at all, which is definitely very awkward. Most of their team now on the silly spawn Siegfried Line. Siegfried Line encounter should not be in Era 2. It should not be in Cold War in general, because you've just seen why. We managed to have shots at their whole team, same as they had shots at our whole team as we crossed in towards the town, which means that you can quite often just bleed hit points getting out of your spawn, which is really not a very good design, really, if we're honest. So this is one mode that needs to disappear from this map, from this game mode, realistically, but hey-ho. We're up to 4,040 damage. It's been less than 2 minutes, and that's because, well, we've had things just sit there. We fire up the Bagel Panzer, and I thought there was a rocket coming my way, but actually, that Bagel Panzer is AFK, so you know what? We're going to take advantage and see how many of these shots are penning and how many are actually bouncing. Quite a few of those rockets didn't pen. Quite a few of those just bounced, and that's on a Bagel Panzer with no armour that's perfectly stationary. Like I say, they can be very unwieldy at times and just decide, no, I don't think I will. We try and get a shot towards the... Wow, that flew really high. Okay, yeah, we put a shot towards the Scorpion 90. We didn't quite get the shell. We're now looking at the MX-30B2. We actually get penned straight through the turret front because, yeah, like I said, the turret front is pretty garbo. The 30B2 pops smoke, which we can use to our advantage because we can pop through the smoke so he can't see us, and we finish him off. And now we're going to use his smoke to our advantage yet again to then move up through this gap here so that we can get into the next phase of the fight up in the town and try and catch some of these tanks off guard. So we've got a Stingray in front of us and a Conqueror. So we get a shot towards the Conqueror. I was hoping to track him there. I've got no rockets left though, so it's not like I can use the rockets against him. We put a shot straight through his upper plate because with 356 penetration we can just go through his upper plate. The Stingray comes in, which we track. We switch to Hesh, because the Hesh can kill this guy in one shot, whereas the standard APFSDS can't. And we push the Hesh shell in for 558 and finish him off. That's where the Hesh shell was great. Now we've got the Conqueror coming in, which, again, I could launch Hesh into his lower plate. It will easily go in, which is what we're doing. We're pending once with Hesh there. We've got the Hesh... Sorry, with APFSDS. We put the Hesh in for 557. Now he's coming after us, and this is where we should have switched back to APFSDS, because we do hit him for 32. We've got the standard round coming in, though. Can we finish him off? No, because the Rickety Panzer ends up finishing him off with an ATGM. There is 2 tanks left on the enemy team. A Tyran 6 that is over there in the distance, and the medium tank at F8. We do get a shot into the Tyran 6 though, but he is being surrounded by the Centurion 9. He gets shut down. The Type 79 is getting absolutely shredded. And we finish the game with a really great total there for the Magach 6R Hydra. And we finish with the epic victory. 3 kills, 10,150 damage. Bit of blocked, bit of assistance. The first class, the high caliber, for 1,759 base XP. Again, a pretty decent game there for the Hydra. I hope we showed off what it can do and also some of its weaknesses. It's a tank that I feel like it's subpar in too many areas to be worth how much gold it is, because 11,000 gold is a lot of money, and I feel like it's, yeah, there's definitely a lot better out there. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.